Welcome back to the shop. This is the first video of the new year, so Happy New Year everybody. And I do have one last Christmas gift to open from Mrs. Squirrel, who, if you didn't know, she does have a YouTube channel. It's about cooking, and I'll put it on the screen here for you. I have not looked at this. She peeked at this to see if it was what it was supposed to be. I haven't seen it, so I have no idea. I'm guessing it's a sticker of some kind. Oh, it's a magnet. Yep, that's appropriate. Where's it gonna go? Toolbox. Let's put it on the toolbox for now. Perfect. Speaking of squirrels, let's see what the other squirrels got for us over here. Ah, thank you. Yeah, we're gonna need these. All right, so these plates right here are my tie plates for the top of the coilover mounts. They're gonna sneak right in here, and I'm gonna find the perfect spot for them. We're gonna weld them up. Of course, this looks a little gross right now. I actually tried a metal prep. It's a phosphate metal prep. Just got it from a big box store. It's inexpensive, and people say it works pretty well. I brushed it on here last night and let it sit all night like the instructions said, and yeah, it's got the white film on there just like it says. It smells a little funny. It's phosphate. Phosphate wash usually smells funny. We just got to wipe it down with a wet rag or spray it down with clean water and remove any excess, and you can go right to painting it. It's pretty cool. We use a very similar phosphate wash where I work, and we literally wash with high temperature and phosphate. Let's see, it's like a dual action. It degreases and phosphatizes your metal surfaces. We dry it, and it goes right into paint booth after that and gets primered and painted. So it works pretty good. I know there's a whole bunch of brands that you can buy like this, and I think they all work comparably well to each other. So pick what you want. Everybody's got their favorite. I went with this because it's cheap and it looks like it's working. And it does say it'll take rust off. There was some rust here yesterday. I don't remember if I took a little shot of that with the rust on here, but I think it's all gone. The other thing you may notice is that there's two cameras going right now. The one up here that's looking down on us is brand new, and I don't know what I'm doing yet. So we're gonna have this one down low. We're gonna have that one up there. We're just gonna see how this goes. We'll experiment. Tell me if you see anything weird. I know I do have a fluorescent light that's flickering, and I don't know if it's too cold or if the ballast is gonna die, but that's going on. So let me know what you think. So I'm just gonna take a clean rag, and I don't want a big puddle on the floor, so maybe let's try this first. A little water in a rag, and we'll just wipe it down. That was probably plenty of water. It says you just want to remove the excess. Rinse with clean water. All right, in these welds, I'm gonna spray. And then I'll have to get something over here to dry this out because I don't want flash rust. Actually looks like there's some rust left here. It did say it could take more than one application to remove any heavy rust. All right, that went way faster than I thought. I did not think the heat gun was going to do that well. I thought I was going to have to get the torch out and heat this up. And yes, I made sure that I got the water off of the primer spots because most primers will absorb water. And when that happens, the water gets in under your primer on your steel and can start to rust from, from underneath the primer, which you think that wouldn't happen, but a lot of primers, they do. And someone in the comments, I'm sure, will tell me which primers don't. Like, I don't think epoxy primer really absorbs water very much, but I do believe the polyester primers do. So just keep that in mind. All right, so that is what a proper phosphatized metal should look like. Yeah, it's not bad. I think that's a useful tool in the shop. Not a promotion, but that's what it is, and I think it's pretty good. Yeah, we got some rust to come in here and get. I think, yeah. There was some red primer on some of this stuff, but I don't think that's what it is. I think there's a little bit of rust left. This stuff, however, looks great. Whew. Okay, well, I did the driver's side first because I wanted to figure out what I was doing first before I came over here to film it. And I struggled with it for quite a few minutes. I found that wherever the piece went, these didn't get cut quite perfect, and I'm not sure why. This is supposed to be 4 1/4 inches between the uprights. These are a little less than 4 1/4 inches. They're like 4 3/16. So when you put it up here, there's a little gap. Okay, whatever. Got that figured out. And then for some reason, at the beginning of this weld on this side, there was some porosity. Again, like I fought on the cross member a few videos ago. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Could be something in my welder. It could be something in the gun. It could be that bottle of gas is almost empty. Maybe it's just not consistent enough pressure to deliver good coverage to the weld. But we'll figure something out. I will get that bottle swapped out here sometime soon. So let's get this one in. Oh, the whole reason I was talking about problems with the welds was this phosphate. I don't know how it's going to react to being welded on. So we're going to make sure we clean it off really good right here where we're going to weld. All right, well, if you're wondering why I sprayed the phosphate on this metal before finishing the welding, it's just kind of how the squirrel brain works. Things get out of order sometimes. And I was curious. That's a dangerous thing sometimes. Okay, now this doesn't want to... Oh. All right. I'm going to guess that this is not at 4 1/4. Oh, it's dang close. Yep, we're welding downhill again, but we're doing open root again so you can see through the gap. And we're welding both sides, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. Yep, that ain't going anywhere. Alright, I'm going to share this with you because it's really frustrating. If you've ever had porosity in a weld, you know how bad it can be to fix it if it's like really bad. I have now ground down into the base material. We've gone through the weld and down into the base material, and I still have one little pit there. If you can see it, I can't even tell if the camera's focusing right. And it's still there. So I have to keep grinding a little farther before I can weld it up. All right, well, in the middle of all this welding and grinding and stuff, I stopped to think, like I have many times, about what I'm gonna do for this opening. A lot of these kits, a lot of these cars where they take the shock towers out, they weld in a piece of sheet metal. And I was just thinking that it would be nice if I can get in here to work on the engine, spark plugs, headers, whatnot, you know, and do all my fitting and testing before I put the covers on. And I thought, dang, that'd be nice if I didn't have permanent covers. So I think I'm going to make a strip that sits on this edge and just doubles it up a little bit. So what I did was I made these just scrap paper templates here with the outline of the front, the rear, and the top section. And I'm like, okay, I'll cut these out, I'll make strips, this is my pattern. And then I realized that years ago, I had panels cut out, just, I think it's 16 gauge, just cut them out on a shear, and look at this, yeah. I still have them. I haven't turned them into something else. Oh, we got some rust to clean up, but that's not too bad. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these already to shape pieces, they're already cut to shape, and we're just gonna cut a strip. And of course, as soon as I say that, I better go look. Let's see how close these are to the correct size. Of course, one problem is the suspension is now sticking up into this area, but it's supposed to sit in there. We'll do it. I'm doing this one-handed. Hold on. Yeah, we got enough to cover all those holes. So we'll just turn this into a strip and just do the outside, and we'll weld it onto this kind of as a stiffener. And then I will come back with a real thin piece, like 20 gauge or something, and just make a cover that can be removed when we want access to the engine.
We got to work on that a little bit. All right. I had to just put the camera down and work because I wanted to get all of the metal in the front prepped for paint. I wanted to fill all the pinholes, any little spot that didn't get welded all the way, grind off sharp edges, sand down anything that looked bad, big scratches and things like that. And then I went and I phosphated the whole thing. When I did the coilover mounts, it showed that the phosphate was working properly. So we just went ahead and did the entire subframe up there. Everything that was bare, I phosphated the whole thing. I let it dry. It actually sat on there for like 3 days because I didn't have time to come out and rinse it off. I wiped it all down with water. It all looks good. It didn't, I was worried that it was going to etch a little too deep, but it looks fine. It's smooth. The only issues I saw were there were a few places where there was black around the edges of welds, and usually that's some soot or some other kind of contamination, and you can sometimes wash that off with a high pressure wash, but we're obviously not using a pressure washer here. So we just got to get in there with Scotch-Brite and clean it out the best we can, because I'm not dragging out the sandblaster and making a huge sandy mess in this shop at this time of year. Speaking of which, it's been low 40s for the last couple weeks, and I've had the heater running when I'm out here, but that's not been enough. So I put a small oil-filled radiant heater down there right next to the cross member and put a heavy welding tarp over it just to trap some heat in and bring the temperature up a little bit, just to make sure that this paint sticks. Now, after the phosphate was rinsed off, I went through with Scotch-Brite and cleaned off every surface because after the phosphate, some of the surface contaminants actually curled up and came off, and I was just able to clean them off with Scotch-Brite. Then I went through with grease and wax remover, wiped down the whole thing, found out that I'm out of tack rags, so we're just gonna go for it. The thing about the paint under the car, anything under the body panels that you see on the outside, it all just needs to be the same color. We're going for satin black. I'm not even going to paint every square inch because some of it's got black undercoating on it. It's just going to stay there. This is not a show car. This is a car that's going to be used heavily on the street. All right, I don't know if I'm ever going to take it to a car show, maybe. So definitely when we paint the outside, we're going to take a little extra effort, but everything underneath and a lot of the interior stuff is going to be very simple. Some people are going to call it a little bit crude, but it's just going to be the same color. This is blurring that line between race car and show car, and you'd be surprised how many race cars have been painted with a rattle can. Or maybe you won't. In fact, a lot of the race cars you see, if you go up close to look at them, the paint is not great. So I got it primered, I got it painted, we got it rewrapped with the tarp, and we're gonna let it sit and not quite bake or cook, but you know, we're gonna let it dry. And then I hope that the next step will involve getting the engine brought in. We got a couple other things we can do before then, but I really want to get the engine, get the engine lift out here, get the engine picked up. Oh wait, we need to put heads on, intake. Got to put that other oil pan on. I don't have a bell housing yet, so maybe it's not worth setting the engine in because the bell housing is the thing that's most likely to interfere with the firewall, I think. We're gonna find out. So that's about, oh no, wait, there's one more thing we gotta talk about. There is a tool that I need that I do not have in the shop, and I cannot afford it. Let's see if you can guess by the clues I give you. This is a 1/2 inch stud. I need a 1/2 inch by 14 millimeter sleeve to go on there, and it's pretty thin, but we're gonna heat shrink it on to adapt to these 14 millimeter rod ends. I have this hub, and I have this little ring here. I want to clean up the ID of this ring, and I want to chamfer this edge right here so it fits better around this radius, because this ring sits all the way down at the bottom, and it locates the rotor for the brakes, the disc brakes that we're going to be using. Then there's this little guy. This is a 3D printed dimple die. I haven't tested it yet. I don't know if it's going to last. Some people are printing these in very simple polymers and they're working, but I bet you can't do very thick material. You can make these really easy if you have the right tool. And then of course we have this rack down here, which I got the new bushings for it. Look at that, that's pretty hard. It's polyurethane. This is the one that came with the rack, and that'd be nice in like a Crown Vic, but we're going for a much more positive road feel here, so harder bushings are called for. This sleeve I have in here that's currently stuck, I need to take the edge off of this so this will seat into the 5/8 hole that's in the cross member up there. It won't take much, just enough to seat it there, and then we'll probably add, well, I might make this longer. I gotta figure this out a little. I gotta put a little more brain power into this, but whatever I do, there has to be something that registers in that hole up there, and the hole is bigger than what's in this bushing. So we gotta do something. So have you guessed what the tool is? It's a big one. I've been watching Facebook Marketplace for a while, Craigslist, eBay, all that stuff for inexpensive, like tool room size lathes. They're out of my price range. I can't justify paying that much money for something I'm gonna use occasionally, even if I really, really want to have it on hand. So this is one of the other projects I need to work on. That little guy was pretty cheap, and I think I have enough material to make something that can help us out. Now, obviously, we are not going to be turning any precision parts here. That's not the goal of this little redneck lathe. It's going to be tuning up the easy stuff, taking the edge off, right? Taking the corner off of this. I just want it to be the same all the way around. I don't care if it's a 30 thou chamfer or a 40 thou chamfer. I just want it to be consistent, because it's just got to fit over there. It's just got to fit on all the way down to the bottom. And I think there's a little burr, you kind of feel it, that's preventing it from going on there. Of course, I'll probably heat this up and heat shrink it on, but you know, it's so close. But we just got to touch up that easy stuff. We just want to have one more tool that we can use just to make life a little easier. If I need a machined part, I will buy a machined part, or I'll pay for someone to machine it. But you know, things like this, you could make this side, we could just use a piece of pipe or tubing. I don't even think it needs to have that bevel on the inside. Maybe it does. And this side we could do with a grinder on a lathe. It does not have to be a specific size. All right, I'm babbling. I think that's about it. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.